Well, I'm finally there, gals and guys. Thank you for coming on. I think we're recording live on Facebook and then recording it also on my computer so that it can be saved for later. So thank you so much for coming on today and for bearing with me for the short notice last week that I had to cancel a meeting. So some of you got that notice and some of you didn't. But today we're going to be talking about chemtrails, and you may have noticed that title. So hang on, we've got lots of information and I'm hoping everybody can hear me. And I'm getting ready to share my screen so that we can kick this in high gear. Oops, we're going to try that again. It changes every time on me. I like. Okay, hopefully you are seeing that screen. And Dee, I know you talk to me once in a while, so let me know if you can't see the screen, but we're going to be talking about chemtrails and the WAVwatch. And obviously you are here today and you've usually been here before. Hopefully you are on the WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics. It's a Facebook private group. And you can also learn lots of information about the WAVwatch on just the website, www.wavwatch.com. And I appreciate it if you share. I'm not too much of an advertiser myself. I kind of hate those click here, you have to click before you can do too much. But anyway, thank you for your patience. As always, I do have to mention our disclaimer. I do use the WAVwatch for information and to teach you about it on this particular webinar. It's not a medical device. Anytime you give a testimony, it's volunteer. Nobody's been reimbursed. Anytime we're talking about, say, a word that fibromyalgia, that sounds like a medical diagnosis. We are not saying that we've made that medical diagnosis. We're just saying that that word has been identified and that we have frequencies for that. We did not make a diagnosis. That would be between you and your doctor. And again, these are low risk acoustical frequency products. So that's what we're doing with the WAVwatch. And this is why I like the WAVwatch. I could talk about it all day long, of course, but there's hundreds of sound frequencies. I have advertised 850, and within each one of those frequencies, there's about 30. So if you'll multiply 30 times 850, that's about how many frequencies we have on the watch. There's no messy cords, wires, or patches. There's no internet connectivity, no EMFs from that. There's no monthly fee. You don't have to wear it on your ears. So even hard of hearing people can be helped with this, and it's very cost-effective self-care. So that's the way I designed it. So hopefully you are enjoying those. So on the next slide, basically we're ready to go, I believe. So we're talking about chemtrails. Are they real or not? I don't know. You know, everything has a theory to it. And there's lots of information, pros or con. And I'm going to be trying to be giving some examples both ways. I'm not a radical. I just think that we should be aware. And I don't know how to say this politely. You know, in World War II, people were not aware that something was happening right behind their home, that millions of people might have been being killed. You know what I'm saying? And no one was paying attention to it or reporting it or whatever. So I'm just saying we have to be aware and look around and look at ideas. And I just got a message that nobody can hear me. Okay, let me try this again.
I can hear you, Linda.
I can hear you.
Can everybody else hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so it's just one
No
person.
problem.
So I don't know who that was.
I can hear you, Linda.
All right. Well, I'm not going to do anything then. You are hearing me. Thank you for that. So we have our guest that I did mention who is joining today. And we'll be talking to her in just a minute, and I'll be introducing somebody. I want to give just a little bit information. Our guest is traveling today. She's in the Las Vegas area, and I haven't ever had a guest on before, so this is really exciting. But she showed me some images the other day. And so how are you doing, Julie? See where you're at. See if I can get you clicked in here. She is going to be sharing some information that she has gathered up. And of course, it does have to do with something connected with chemtrails. Okay, Julie, so I've made you a host, and you can unclick if you want. Can you hear me, Julie? You can unmute. Can't hear you yet.
Yeah.
There, is that you, Julie?
I think I got it. Yep, I think I got it.
Okay, isn't this fun? I have just barely said the topic. I have said that we're talking about chemtrails and that we have to be paying attention to things around us that,
Yes.
that hasn't happened in the past. And I don't know how you're going to be with your, connection today. So I might let you go ahead and talk, and I might see if I could find those pictures that you showed me. Do you want me to introduce anything, or you just want to describe them? I'll put those pictures up on the screen.
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
Okay, so are you still there? No, it looks like I got you. Huh. You may have got unmuted already. Julie, can you say something? Or we may have lost Julie already. I'm not sure which way that goes. Okay, this is really important, or I wouldn't have taken the time to do this. But Julie has some amazing pictures that I thought fit right into this particular idea. So we'll try this again. We're rehooking Julie up. Julie, are you there again?
Okay, I think I'm back.
These are images that Julie shared with me that sparked this whole idea, and I'll let her explain it. So here's your first one, Julie. I don't know if you can see this yet. Sure.
No, I cannot. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, well, first of all, hello, everybody, and thanks for bringing me on. I appreciate being here. Might be a little loud. I've got trucks passing behind me here. I'm in Arizona somewhere, just coming back from Vegas. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I hope everybody else can.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Sure, great, thank you. So the first picture we're looking at there is gonna, as you can see, there's some streaks in the aspects. Those lines right there, those are what we call chemtrails. They come out the back of planes by military aspects, and that's been going on in our skies for quite a while.
So I can't seem to get to the ones I want for you.
We'll find them. They're
There.
there.
Okay. These are great slides. I just have to get to through about 30 of them.
But I only sent you 3, I think. So I'll just give a little history while you're looking for those. July 6th, I was in the Kansas City area on the Missouri side. Oh, there's Jason and I. Hey, that's funny. Do you guys know who that is? That picture there?
I don't.
That's a young man we call Jason Q. And he is a researcher that has the capacity to explain a lot of things about what's going on both in the skies and below. So yeah, so July 6th, I was in Kansas City on the Missouri side, and I got up, took out the trash. From there, it started raining a little after 7, continued to rain, and quite heavily. The rain was very strange. The thunder was super strange. It was almost as if it was coming from below, not just above. And it went on for about 35, 40 minutes, like continually. You know how sometimes a storm will, most of the time a storm, you'll get several minutes and, you know, maybe 20 minutes of thunder, lightning and stuff. No, this went on for about 40 minutes. Well, so I don't think anything of it. Later on, I come outside to the patio and I thought, well, what in the world happened during that rain? Did it hail? What happened? And I look out, there was no indication that there's any hail damage anywhere, but there were these little small pellets on the patio. And I looked at those, picked it up, and as you can see on the far right is it looked like a small, just almost like a pill, like a little completely perfect round aspect. And so then in the middle, what I did was I took that little round ball, put it on the table and crushed it, and it was almost like a pill, and it had a chemical taste to it. Yes, I tasted it. Everybody's like, what did you do that for? I'm still here. It was fine, but it was definitely a chemical taste. It didn't, I mean, I would imagine hail would be, if it were just nothing but water, would taste like water, right? So yeah, that's what, and then Linda, you and I met shortly after that, and I shared that story with you. So here we are.
So I thought this was worth seeing. Did I miss you say, did it feel like plastic too, or?
It felt, yes, it was round like a small plastic ball. But then I was able to crush it similar to a pill.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where it had that chemical taste.
Okay. And when I tried to blow up the picture on the left, I mean, I did blow it up quite a bit. I don't know that you can see it on this, but to me, those spots look like oil. They
do. Yes, they do look like oil. And in every round oil looking water aspect within that is a small little round white pellet like you see there.
And did it dry completely clear or clean?
You know, I believe on the patio, I'm not there, but I did, after several days, I was still able to sweep things up, and they were still in the white pellet form.
Wow. And was the greasy looking spot still there?
Let me think. Yes. Now I got some samples and I've not had an opportunity to send it in. We do have some people that would like to take a look at it, but this is the first time I've witnessed this in the aspect of, well, no, I take that back. That's not the first time. Last year in Missouri, we had a snow that was like a chemical snow. And I gathered up some of the snow and tried to melt it, and it wouldn't melt. And that's a problem. Yeah,
That's
like,
a problem.
that's a problem. That's not something I want to go sledding in, right? You know? Although it might be more effective for snowball, you know, making snowballs and hurting people. I don't know, but so yeah, there's some strange things that have been going on in our skies for a long time. There's an aspect called HAARP. I don't know if people are familiar with that. It's spelled HAARP. That would be worth researching. That's some weather manipulation aspects of government has some amazing technology that can manipulate our weather, and not just the United States, the whole world. So it's a very beautiful and crazy time to be alive, but I feel like we're on the uptick of it. We've just got some more craziness chapters of the war to finish up.
So, Julie, do you have a website or a blog or anything that you want to share with people? Anybody? I didn't write it down. I guess I don't know that I knew it. Or,
yeah, well, you can reach out to me on, I am on 107daily.com. And that's similar to Facebook. I'm also on Facebook as Julie D. Floater. That's a D with an apostrophe, Floater. And I'm on Telegram. There, I would say a good place to reach me would be, let me think, a love for hemp life. And that's spelled the letter A, love spelled LUV, the number 4, hemp, HEMP, life, which hemp stands for How Earth Makes Products.
okay, I love it. All right. Well, anything else that you want to share about things you found or seen in our atmosphere or anything in the this was Kansas City area in my estimation. So I was just fascinated by this. Anything else that you want to share, Julie, because I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, well, I just got off the road and just now leaving the Truth Tour, and we spent a solid 2 days with a gentleman by a numbered name by the name of 107, and it's pretty amazing. And he shared with us that we might have a bumpy road ahead of us as a nation for a little bit, but that we're coming through it, and in the end, it's going to be a beautiful, fabulous other side. So
all right.
Keep the faith. Keep the faith.
All right. Keep the faith. Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Julie. And
thank you, guys.
If you're interested, but thank you so much for your time. And I was able to hear you plain as day. So even though you were traveling on the road, it was helpful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day.
So I'm going to see if I can get back, but I hope you appreciate all the effort that it went into getting this together here. So we have some strange things going on in our own atmosphere, and this is what, kind of prompted everything. So just got started with her today. So, we didn't make any kind of a claim. Julie just didn't make a claim. She said these are pictures from her own back porch, but Carl Sagan tells us that extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. So there's a lot of claims and misinformation out there, and who knows what is what. So there are pictures all over. We've probably all taken our own pictures of what we might consider contrails, chemtrails, and even just the phrasing is just a little bit different for us too, because it goes back and forth. So there are 77 scientists who are saying it just ain't so, that there's no such thing as chemtrails. And they're all experts in atmospheric science, got lots of contributions. And for their studies, 77 out of 76 scientists said that there was no such thing, that chemtrails did not exist. And they found that the data cited as evidence, some of the theories could be explained away through other factors, including well understood physics and chemistry associated with aircraft. So it was all one big lie, in the words of 77 major scientists who published their reports in the Journal of Environmental Research. They were saying that whatever we're seeing points to trails being simply the normally expected results of planes flying through the air. But this theory has been around for a long time. In the 1990s, there was a lot of information, almost like she was saying on the HAARP, that the government was able to control some weather. And again, this is just another source. They're saying atmospheric scientists have said that contrails last longer sometimes because of the humidity of the air. And they're saying now that 20-hour-long contrails or chemtrails would not be unexpected, that's normal. And it's the temperature of the airplane's exhaust that can make a difference. Well, I'm not a scientist, but I would think every airplane has the same exhaust temperature. They're not going to be a huge variation, maybe some according to the size, but our larger airplanes that we're worried about, to me, would seem to have the same temperature. So lots of questions, Then another idea that they tell us that chemtrails and contrails is actually the same thing, that we're talking about condensation trails. And that because we have more planes in the sky now than when we were younger, that just means more trails. And so, all kinds of ways that they're explaining this away. This was an image I got from NASA, and they were showing how on the California side, on the left side, the standard infrared, kind of looks normal, but then when they enhance it with infrared, they can see those contrails, chemtrails, and that these result in cirrus clouds, that the clouds change. They're admitting that the clouds change because of the contrails, or the whatever is left behind by all the airplanes in the sky. So I thought that was interesting. Now there's so many documentaries, but what I did find that a lot of them have been banned. They are not on the website anymore, or on the YouTube, or they're gone. Now this one is a Discovery one, and you can see that it's about I think it was 8 minutes, and it's the best evidence for chemtrails. So you can do your own research. I'm not telling you one way or the other. I'm just saying, hey, let's be careful of all these things that we could be being polluted with, and let's take some action. Let's pay attention to them. Don't know what happened there. So what I was trying to show you was another picture here. Sure, it's coming. There we go. Finally, the images I wanted to show you. These were amazing images, and they're all over the internet. And we're told, again, that this is just a variation in atmosphere. A plane went through that had a little bit different temperature than another one, not to worry about it. So that's the major thinking. And then somebody said, well, what about these scientists? How many scientists are saying that it's not, that there is no such thing? And why would they be telling us a lie? And somebody else came back and said, well, they don't know what to say about it. They don't know what to do. They don't want to lose their jobs. They, there's so many excuses, and we can see that. Why do people not report bad things going on? Sometimes, just like I said, right next door, something bad could be going on and nobody notices it or sees it or reports it. So huge connections. We just do not know. Now, I have a computerized system that actually screens for chemtrails. And this system has about 50,000 ideas in it. And I've had it for 15 years. And this year I have seen more information about chemtrails than any year before, although I have believed in chemtrails for many, many years. So here's a few of the ideas that are in a folder, and they're just labeled chemtrails. And the computer, when I have it set, it will look for I'd say a good way to describe it is the loudest frequency in somebody's body, the priority frequency. And it comes up with chemtrails. And so these are some of the things that it's telling us. It might not tell us every one of these. And of course, it might not be that it as actually a chemtrail. It's just a product that is known to possibly be related to chemtrails. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard my story, but about 15 years ago, I lived in Bolivar, Missouri, and I lived out in the middle of the country. So I didn't take walk-ins, but one day somebody drove into my yard in this big pickup and wanted to be screened on the biomeridian. And so I start working with this particular gentleman, and he was actually huge. And he's sitting behind my desk, a little bit cramped up. And I, just kept coming up with ideas about chemtrails. And so kind of very softly, I said, I don't know, where you are, or if you know about this, but this computer is telling me a lot about chemtrails in your system. And this man just went berserk. I mean, his knees kind of hit my table, and I'm still kind of traumatized from it. And he jumped up and he hit my table and he hollered at me. He basically said, "What are you doing? What government do you work for? Where are you? Where are you from? What do you know about chemtrails?" And just kept yelling at me. And I finally got him settled down, and he had quite a story. And it seemed like that in that time period, now remember, it was 15 years ago. In that time period, even before then, he was living in Arizona close to a military base. And him and some of his friends were trying to prove the existence of chemtrails. And so they were, wearing camouflage clothes and actually taking a little camera and sneaking up to the chain link fence and trying to video some of the activities going on at the base. And they started noticing that some of the pilots were disappearing. They read a couple obituaries. They got very afraid. And then all of a sudden, they felt that they'd been sprayed. They felt that something had happened drastically, and they all got scared and they just ran for their lives, basically just left Arizona. And this man came to Humansville, Missouri, if you can believe that, and walked into my office a year later. And the first thing I tell him is chemtrails. So I was pretty convinced that something was going on 15 years ago. Don't know what, we can't prove it, or, is there proof? Yes or no? I do not know. But I know now more than ever, my computer is continuing to come up with chemtrail connections. So these are some basic things that the computer tests for. And then here's another list of things that it works with. And so there's all kinds of heavy metals that it tells us about. It checks for aviation fuel. It checks for certain mycoplasma, and it checks for molds. The list goes on and on and on. So my system is basically made to work at this point in time with one homeopathic remedy that I use, and then the WAVwatch. And so we're seeing some amazing turnarounds in people's health just doing that simple idea. But I just wanted to share with you that to me, there is something going on that is not right. I am seeing so many things in people's system that have gotten worse maybe over the years. But 15 years ago, I had my eyes opened. Of course, I had heard about chemtrails at that point in time, but until you have somebody in your office like I did, it doesn't maybe hit home. So lots of interesting information if we just read about it. Now, here's another great site, and it's stopsprayingcalifornia.com. And they do say california.com, but they have links for every state. And they have videos that people have turned in from that state. So when I clicked on Kansas, they had a video from Wichita and a video from I can't remember now, but 4 or 5 different videos, and it said the name of the town that it was from. And so you could watch these videos. Very, very interesting. They had it for every state. They had it for every NATO country. So I highly recommend this website if you're interested in learning a little bit more about it. And it, again, is called stopsprayingcalifornia.com, but it's a huge site for everybody. And then one of the things that they did make a comment on, which I thought was worth us looking at. This contains the bacillus bacteria contains a restriction enzyme. I hadn't heard that phrasing before. They were explaining it as it's used for transferring DNA from one cell to another. This enzyme is used by biolabs to create new viruses and genetic clones. Now, I thought that was interesting because most of this website was put together in 2009, 2010. So it doesn't look like it's been updated very much since then. I was really kind of surprised, but that wording has been in there for 10 or 12 years. So very, very interesting information. I hope if you're interested or if you haven't seen it, that you take some time. And especially if you're like me, you're living in Kansas and you meet somebody like Julie who has those 3 pictures. Very, very interesting. Can we say that they're from fallout from the sky? I don't know. Isn't that interesting? I don't know what to say. It's just phenomenal. Another idea is this one. It's a lovely picture. I was just fascinated when I saw it, and they call it a rainbow chemtrail over Russia. And so credit is given to the photographer. And then in the article, it says, what kind of chemical colors do you recognize in there? Now, I do not know about that. Could we take a picture like that and just say it's chemtrails? You know, there's some pros and cons of both of this. And this is why I want to show you this. And I wouldn't have thought of this, but I have a picture that speaks to me. And just because it has radiant colors and amazing things in it, I'm not calling it chemtrails. I'm calling it kind of the light of God, and you'll see what I mean. So this is a picture of me and my 2 sons, and we were in front of a rock outcropping, and this is entirely natural phenomena. I guess I spelled that wrong. Phenomena. Sorry about that. I have to laugh at myself. So that was just somebody standing and taking a picture of us, and everybody that looks at it says, oh my goodness, it looks like angels' wings up there. And where does the 2 light rings at the bottom of your feet come from? What did they do to make that? It's like nothing. It was not touched. It was an untouched photo, yet look at all the color and the light and things. So then you look at something like the rainbow from Russia, and you know, it does make you pause. How much of this is true and how much is not true? But I want to, you know, make us think that natural phenomena does happen in nature, but maybe it's a chemtrail, you know. Now, again, like I'm mentioning with my family, there was no concept of that. But maybe when it's way up in the sky like that and there's unnatural colors, there could be a possibility of something going on that we're not used to. So I think these 2 quotes kind of sum up what I've been thinking for years. And I don't know that I need to read them to you, but I'll try a little bit. I got them off of, you know, a couple of sites. It was off of a YouTube site, which is included in here. And, this is my thought exactly. You don't have to be a scientist to realize that something here is strange. We're smart, observant human beings, and for years we have been used to seeing contrails, light, faint, transparent trails of ice from the tips of wings of planes. Now we are seeing billows of cloud spewing constantly out of the back of planes that are thick and don't dissipate. You don't need to be any kind of scientist or specialist to know that what we see now in the sky isn't what we saw decades ago. And again, our scientists are just explaining it away and saying, oh no, it's just the atmospheric changes. So a little bit strange, but that is my thought exactly. And another one that I really liked, and that's because my brother happens to have bees. And still, people remain baffled as to why honeybees are dying out, why whales beach themselves, and why wildlife in Alaska is traveling further and further away from the habitats they were once accustomed to. So because of my brother and his bees, I know that they have so much trouble. The bees die all the time. And we're going to be lucky if we have any plants and trees and flowers because the honeybees are not around to pollinate them near as much as they used to be. And he could keep his honeybees in eastern Colorado for years, at a time. They would repopulate. And, the last 8 years, don't quote me on the exact timeline, but, just in the last 8 to 10 years, every year they die. They're dead. They can't survive through the winter. So he has to go somewhere else to get restocking on his honeybees. Now, it could be something completely different. It could be from the chemicals in the farmland. The list goes on and on and on. But again, some of those chemicals in the farmland can be from the sky. So who knows? We just need to be paying attention. Now, here's another one that I found, and I'm sure some of you have done your own research on this, and in a little bit, I'll let everybody open up and, throw in some of their ideas if they have something that they've learned. But an uncovered government document proves contrails or chemtrails are real. So this is from USAWatchdog.com, and this was actually several years ago. And again, it's almost like the chemtrail theories kind of fizzled out a little bit. They got us calmed down. They made us quit worrying about it. And there was more in the news years ago from what I could see as I followed up gathering information for this presentation. So that was a little disappointing. Here's another one. And this was the same picture tied together twice. I'm not sure why. But these are the skies of Ontario, and a military aircraft sprays a plume of unknown substances. And then when I followed through to that website, it was not there. It had been shut down, no longer available. But that picture was still available. And again, it was in 2007, I think is what it says. Yeah. So again, it seems to me like we've been slowing down on our hatred or following through or are wanting to protect ourselves from chemtrails and be vocal about it. It seems like we've just really been calmed down. You might correct me if I'm wrong about that, but it seems like it's not being paid attention to as much. Another idea that I found is that there's a chemtrail, can't even spell again, chemtrail group. It's chemtrail group on Facebook with about 114,000 members. And again, it's still considered a cover up, and evidence is presented that chemtrails does not have any strong evidence, and there's nothing that explains it. And if we really were spraying chemtrails, it would mean that thousands of people would be sworn to secrecy. And, not one person would have leaked the truth. So nobody's leaked the truth. So if there's really chemtrails, why don't we have leakers out there all over the place? So, two different thoughts. There's a whole chemtrail group, on Facebook that believe in it. And then there's other people trying to dissipate and calm that information down and smooth it over, make us not worried about it. But these are some dangerous chemicals that could be in the chemtrails. There's a whole list of them. And I already showed you the ones that my computer screen works with, my MSA or BioMeridian, and I could add more to it at any time. But lots of different chemicals, different bacteria, different molds, different radiation could be in those chemtrails as people feel that, if people feel that they are real. So I actually found a website, and again, it is the StopSprayingCalifornia.com website. And they had a list of the short-term effects of chemtrails. And I guess one that I had missed is the tinnitus. I think they even had a stat somewhere, and I have missed it, but I think it said that 77% or more people that have tinnitus or tinnitus, whichever way you want to say it, could actually be from the chemtrails, from spraying in the air. I really hadn't connected that one before. I had connected more the 5G and the EMFs, but they're saying that the tinnitus has been bad way before our cell phones got out of control. So of course, we're saying allergies, anxiety, asthma, brain fog, eye and skin irritations. Oh, here's a good one to use as an excuse. Gas, flatulence can be from chemtrails. So I get to laugh about that one. Flu-like symptoms, headaches, itching, nausea, nosebleeds, panic attacks, coughing, respiratory problems, suicidal thoughts, and the ear problems could be because of the high-pitched sound after spraying. So I thought that was interesting. So all of these are on the WAVwatch. So the list is endless. So we may not know what's happening. We may not know why. We just know we have anxiety. We know we have asthma. We know we have persistent coughing. Whatever the problem is, you can see that the WAVwatch has a lot of settings for these. I don't think that there is one that is not on there. Every single one of those is covered on the WAVwatch. So again, you have a tool that covers many areas. Can you imagine going out and trying to shop for even herbal supplements that are for every single one of these? You would be having several bottles of products to cover those. So I hope you're using your WAVwatch in several areas, and maybe even in areas that you hadn't thought about before. Then here is a list for our long-term effects, and it's a little bit smaller, so I hope you can read it. But again, the allergies, the Alzheimer's, ADHD, autoimmune, blood in the urine, cancer, constipation, depression, easy bruising, eye problems, gastritis, heart arrhythmias. That's all on the left side. On the right side of this chart, we've got heart disease, irritable bowel syndrome, insomnia, lung problems, lupus. I'm not reading all of them, letting you read some of those. So you can see how there could be such a connection with something that's in our air that's spraying everybody. I'm not saying it is true or it isn't true. I'm just letting you know this is from the website. And again, telling you that the WAVwatch has almost every single one of these ideas covered also. So, I mean, schizophrenia is on there. That's on the WAVwatch. All you have to do is go to emotions. It's right there. I guess I should take that back. White coating on the tongue. I'm not sure that I have a frequency for that, specifically, but everything else, there is a frequency. It says aluminum buildup in the pineal gland. There's aluminum detox through the heavy metal detox. And then there is also frequencies for the pineal gland. So you can run the WAVwatch to your heart's content to protect you from chemtrails. Last week, I was on an airplane to Montana, and I wore my WAVwatch the whole time on some of these different kinds of things. And I did have a little bit of allergies when I landed in Montana. And that seemed to be a little bit more connected with just being, in quite a different environment very quickly. And then I did run allergies and those went away really quickly. But I had quite a bit of sneezing there to start with. So I had a tool with me. I didn't have to travel with a lot of things. Everything is nasty that could be being sprayed on us. And I could spend 2 hours giving you, a slide about each little piece of information. But, if you're worried about your nervous system, aluminum is one of the worst ones, disturbed sleep, nervousness, memory loss, headaches, emotional instability. That's, I can say this time and time again, I always talk about salt, but I think that's why they took us off of our good salt and put us on the white salt from Morton's. It has no minerals in it that help to dissipate and connect with and pull some of these toxic things out of our system. And then it's loaded with aluminum. So all of our senior citizens that went on white salt years ago, like their doctors told them to, have more and more problems with Alzheimer's and memory problems because of that, in my opinion. I'm not saying that as a medical diagnosis. I'm just saying in my opinion. Then I had this slide last time or another time, but there is information that aluminum levels from Mount Shasta could be 4,800 times the maximum level for drinking water. So what's up in the skies that's landing on that mountain? Where would aluminum be coming from all of a sudden? So they know from other snow samples that wasn't true hundreds of years ago or thousands or millions of years ago, whatever their testing was showing. So again, that has changed in our lifetime. Our lifetime. Huge connection. We need to pay attention to this. We need to make sure we are protecting ourselves and our loved ones. So again, this is why the detox is really, really good on the WAVwatch. Play it at least once a week. You can make your own decisions, but you could see all of the other connections with the short-term and the long-term problems and how the WAVwatch could be so helpful for any of them. So play through all of these. Then another idea was to basically play the germ folders, especially the bacteria and the mold segment in particular. And I see my numbers are all messed up on the mold for some reason. But basically, again, those are areas that you could hit harder, especially when you're outside a long period of time. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been out on my deck before and, maybe you imagine things, but, I'm sitting out on a beautiful clear day. There's nothing going on. And, I just feel these little tiny pellets hitting me. And somebody said, oh, it was the asphalt bouncing off of your roof, and somebody else said, no, it was something falling out of the trees. Just didn't feel like that. Maybe I'm making up things, but I feel that I feel some things outside. And then when I come inside, a lot of times I just feel so tired. So I don't know if anybody has some testimonies on that, but basically that is what we're looking at, is trying to decide, are we being do we have the need? Let me see if I can phrase that better. Do we have the need to be detoxing ourselves from heavy metals after we come inside? After we've been outside, are we being bombarded? Is there something that is going on? So I think we've kind of finished up. I'm to the point where Julie showed a couple of her slides, and I can put that next one on in just a minute, because this is a slide from right here in the Kansas City area. So huge in my opinion. So I am done. I hope I haven't rambled too much, because I couldn't say yay or nay. There's a lot of good things to think about. There's a lot of negative things to think about. You have pictures like this, and then maybe some of you can add to the information. So I'm going to stop sharing. If anybody'd like to say something, jump right in.
Linda, can you hear me?
Hi, Virgil. Yep.
Uh, What is a homeopathic remedy that you use?
Pardon?
Hold on. What is the homeopathic remedy that you use?
It is different for each single person that comes to me. Mhm.
Okay.
But it would be a homeopathic, and a homeopathic is an energetic remedy.
I
So,
understand that. Sure.
so some people might have more trouble with hormones, you know, whatever has been in their system has messed up their hormones. We might use that. And other people, it might be, you know, their liver's messed up. So it isn't individualized.
Linda, can you think of any specific thing on the WAVwatch that would counteract altitude sickness?
Whoa, you had quite an echo. I didn't hear what on the way.
I'll try again. I'm still getting, is that any better? No. Altitude sickness.
Oh, altitude sickness. Yeah, motion sickness. The one for motion sickness has helped.
Okay, thank you.
Now, have you mute yourself? Everybody please mute, maybe. Okay, anybody else with a comment or two?
Just very, very interesting, Linda. Thank you as always.
Oh, thanks. It always makes me learn. But you know, when you see somebody that shows you pictures like Julie had, you know, and Dee, you live in this area. What'd you think of those pictures?
It's frightening.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
what was that?
I know you and Carl have talked about it quite a bit, but that's proof in the vision right there. That's kind of scary.
Mhm.
I have something to add to that. Linda, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
One can go to Geoengineering Watch, geoengineeringwatch.org. Dane Wigington, he spent his life savings researching, documenting the truth of this. So it's not conjecture. I know Linda has to stay out of jail, so she's being very benign in her presentation. It is far worse than you can imagine. But geoengineeringwatch.org for anyone who has the courage to take a deep dive. Most importantly, though, I like to think about solutions. And I think that I was thinking about this today, Linda, before I even knew you were talking about that, as I was doing a contemplation. I said the most important thing about this WAVwatch are the protocols of detox, parasites, germs, infections, everything else. If that's clean, if the body's clear and clean, the biological terrain is healthy, the body can fight off the assaults that we're dealing with in trying to live life. But know this, 70% of the population of America is drinking fluoridated water. We're living in Wi-Fi, which is highly toxic. And most importantly, most everyone is eating toxic food and calling it fun. So we are all being assaulted or assaulting ourselves through our lifestyle and habit. And the primary value of this watch is this is somewhat of an adjunctive antidote to help people live with the exigencies of living in this world, which is being run by an insane asylum set of maniacs. But nothing much I can do about it.
Oh my goodness, what a testimony. I wish I could steal your phrase. Great.
So there you have it.
Oh, wow. And I want to jump in right quick too, because I had these and forgot to show them, but you know, we have to be doing more than the WAVwatch and homeopathics and things. But you know, I have a 14-day tea detox that I've used before. My significant Carl just ordered some Tesla purple patches. I think that's what they were called. And they're very, very interesting. I don't know if anybody's seen those before. Of course, we've talked about stones before that can be very helpful. I've got a foot patch, detox kit. I have a glass that has stones built into it to detoxify my water. And of course I have, water with no fluoride in it already. The list goes on and on of some different things that we could do. So please reach out there and be doing something, look, make your own decision and act. We cannot just sit by and not do something. All right, anybody else?
I'd like to say something else on a practical boots on the ground level. Baking soda, I learned this from homeopathic people years ago. Baking soda, sea salt, Epsom salts, borax, 20-multine borax baths, twice a week minimum. And my new thing, which I've spoken of in the past, is keeping the body alkaline. And that is essential and critical. It's the cheapest thing there is to do on the planet and the most difficult for anyone to follow through on. It really requires going to Amazon, getting a litmus paper strip for $5 and peeing on it to see where the urine is in terms of alkaline acid balance, and titrating it or hyperperfusing alkalinity with bicarbonate of soda or additional salts that can be used to balance the pH, and learning about the necessity of being alkaline in the body. So anyway.
And I have a whole book on using baking soda. It's great. The 100 things to use, why to use baking soda. It's perfect. So just like you say, cost effective, covers a lot of things. So thank you again.
Okay, I'm out of here.
Good reminder. All right. Anybody else have any comments or things they might do, or have you seen anything that bears reporting?
Linda?
Yes.
Janie. And I don't know if it's chemtrails or it's just what I saw. And this has been probably about in the early 2000s or somewhere in there. But when we used to get thunderstorms coming up that looked very, very bad in the West, why, it wasn't very long until you heard airplanes. And I've gone outside and I've looked, and every bad storm that came up, and this went on for several years. Now, where these planes were dispatched from, I have no idea, but they would usually come from the south and drive north or fly north, whatever. Very consistent for every storm. And I have seen a storm that looked very, very bad. And those planes come up and that storm just dissipated very quickly. And then it went on over into Kansas and produced about 3 or 4 inches of rain. So I don't know if they're still doing that or not. I have no idea, but this is what I witnessed for many years there, and it really concerned me. So
yes,
I don't know what was going on.
And Eastern Colorado, you can see the skies. That's your major thing to see. So great information. Yes. Anybody else? Oh, I should show you. I don't know if anybody's noticed my shirt. This is my chemtrail shirt. So I had fun with that. So that's what chemtrails look like to me.
I want to say something further. And I've gotten trapped in this thing of looking at what other people are doing to me and finding a whole bunch of people to agree and not taking the actions that are within my personal purview to mitigate the environmental issues that impact my wellness. And that's a trap of slavery. We're all conditioned to be slaves looking to a master or some authority to save us. And I say to everyone here, if you're not eating 100% of the right kinds of food at the right times in the right way, and taking your baths and getting yourself alkaline, you are the problem, not the government. The government will fall on its own when enough people wake up and take responsibility for their own wellness and start doing the things that they can do for themselves. And that's a hard thing for me because every day I struggle with the effort. Every day I wake up, and many of you are not old enough to know Flip Wilson, would come out on television in a dress, in his alter ego, and they would say, Geraldine, why did you do that stupid thing? And Geraldine would say, the devil made me do it. Well, guess what? The devil's alive and well in me as it is in everyone else. It's the devil that has to be mastered, not the government. So anyway, that's my
Some
story.
good points. So, we're here for health ideas and that kind of thing, but I think most of us are really, we can listen to what Virgil is saying, and it makes complete common sense to us. And it's very hard when there is someone who doesn't have the same view, so who knows? But we just need to keep that open so that we can still keep talking, so that we're not yelling and screaming. We have to have a way to be working on ourselves, and then letting, doing whatever the next step is that you want to take. And, this isn't a political program, it's a health program. How can we help ourselves? And so that's what the WAVwatch is for. Any other comments before we kind of wind it down? I got to go to work, gals. So anything else going on? Anybody else? Okay, so I hope you appreciated the effort that Julie made from being on at 8 o'clock in the morning out in the Las Vegas area, and sharing those photos with us, and kind of watch that true group that she's speaking in. She got to meet Juana Savin, and she's been on the Charlie Ward show. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, you might look her up. And I think she gave a email for you, or a blog number. So anyway, thank you so much for being on today, and I appreciate you bearing with me since I couldn't be on last week. Have a good week, everybody. Hope to see you again.
Thank you, Linda.
Pass the word around. Thanks.
Thank you, as always.
You are welcome.